Hey everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm your host Ben, and joining me as usual is my co-host Ian. How you doing, Ian?
No, this is God.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun show because for some reason the Hangouts. Okay, for some reason the Hangouts have been acting up again today. I usually, like, when I play the music, if I have it set to voice mode, the music sounds like I'm playing it through, somebody's headphones, and if I have it set to studio, it sounds alright. Unfortunately, when I switch to studio, I don't see my little lights light up, and it doesn't indicate that I'm making any noise. But Ian can hear me, can't you, Ian?
Yes, I am perfect.
Yeah, so I bet you when this goes up, it'll probably be a one-man show of Ian talking to himself, so...
Probably.
Probably, but then again, aren't all of them? Isn't this really just Fight Club and I'm Brad Pitt in your mind? Because, I'm going to be Brad Pitt in this situation, not the other guy. So how you doing this week, Ian?
Pretty good. How about you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing alright. Just been trying to get myself back in track and, trying to get back in the groove of things.
You getting the band back together?
The band of one, yeah. And, well, I've been working on some comic stuff because I decided, okay, I want to try and make some iBooks, right? And it's like I really want to get stuff done for have a bunch of stuff ready for Halloween rather than going, I'll do some whenever. No, I want to have at least one. I'm working on one right now. Who knows how many I'll have done by then? I might get the one done and go, oh, that was a little bit more than expected. So I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. I mean, I don't know. Figure I'll dive into that and see how it goes for Halloween, and then hopefully do Christmas and New Year's. I have no idea what I'm going to do with Thanksgiving though, because really, what can you put on that holiday? like the whole Pilgrims and Indians thing. It's kind of like that's quaint. That we all kind of know that didn't really happen that way, and if it did, well. Not too long later, they screwed things over. So, anyway, so what have you been up to lately, Ian?
Well, I don't know, just trying to keep it trucking at my own work,
Yeah. And what have you been busy with lately? You've been doing scripting, editing your panoramas,
Well, mostly panoramas, and then, there's a lot I want to try. I might get back into scripting. It's just, there's so much ideas that I was trying to write down and stuff that I could do to start trying to figure out what I want to get 3D printed and just overload my dad's work with stuff to print,
You're like the kid who uses his dad's copier to make his zine. Said, no, it's a 3D zine. 3D zine. Yeah. That reminds me I've talked to you about MagCloud before, right? That place where people can make their own magazines and have them either, digital versions or have them printed. So.
Now, you might have, but I probably forgot that. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, I mean, their digital version, it doesn't really make too much sense to me in that if you can make a digital file, you don't really need somebody else to distribute it for you unless you get a heavy load. I mean, nowadays there's stuff like Gumroad and stuff like that that'll host it for you, but like I don't have my stuff set up on MagCloud for digital download because they put a little watermark in it. And like, for one, come on now, man. If I'm an artist, you just stamp a little, your URL on there. It's like that disrupts the whole thing. And two, it's like, come on, really? What did you guys do? I mean, you're hosting it. Yes, I understand you're hosting it. I would even give you a portion of the a commission or whatever you want to say. But it's like, don't brand my stuff. You didn't, especially if I mean, I can understand if you went through the editor and, like, uploaded a bunch of JPEGs and made it that way, but it's like, I uploaded a full PDF of the thing to test it out, and it's like, no. I don't think so, guys.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think they got
right,
bought
though.
by, I think they got bought by Blurb or something like that not too long ago. I'm gonna check this out. You go ahead and continue. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No, it's okay, man. No, I mean, you're totally right, though. I mean, if you're doing digital, you don't have a reason to go through any kind of, like, huge, what do you call those, like, publishers or whatever? I don't know, but it's like, you don't need to go through a middleman where they're like, yeah, we're the middleman, see? You go through us, see? We'll give you some protection, see?
Well, I mean, it's really a matter of like what they do for you. Like, you know, if you're a guy, if you're like a person that just wrote a manuscript and you need somebody to format it, or you know, some places where like you can submit your manuscript and then they send it off to, you know, iBooks and Amazon and other places. It's like I've thought about that. And I've looked at the different options, and it's like, well, traditionally, like say for iBooks, you know, Apple takes like a 30% and you'd get 70%. And then it's like if you ran it through someone who buys the ISBNs for you and does all this stuff, it's like, well, they take this percentage and this percentage. It's like, no, that's too much. It's like I'm already giving up 30% just to have it in this store. I don't need a third party coming in and doing anything unless they can do like massive promotional stuff where they actually generate sales, which, let's be honest, the majority of them aren't going to do that. So, but
you
yeah,
start coming in and breaking everything and be like, you need our protection. You want to be safe, don't you? You want to have your stuff
This is a nice
stolen,
ebook you have here. Be ashamed if something were to happen to it. But yeah, I just checked their site. MacCloud is now part of Blurb, so that's nice. So I don't know.
Do they have a short little blurb on Blurb?
Well, they got a link on their homepage, you know, that says, "Oh, expect exciting news." They sent out an email when the purchase happened. I don't know. I saw on the news this today actually that Dollar Tree is buying their competitor Family Dollar. So it's like, well, that's interesting. I mean, the price, I think it was like a couple, was it million or billion? Something weird. I don't know. Just sitting there going, dollar stores make that much? Well, I guess it makes sense. There's one everywhere. So, I don't know. So, yeah, stuff. So getting back to the conversation, you've been doing panorama stuff. You've been all right, what you've been doing, putting together assets for packages for selling on stores, or tell the folks at home what you've been doing.
I haven't even gotten to that yet. I mean, it's like I made some new panoramas. You know, I went to the park with my parents and met some of the family with my grandpa. I probably mentioned this before, but
I think you did on our 4th of July comeback show.
Yeah, and so I took a couple there, and then I took some other places. So I was just busy editing those, trying to put those back into my archives, and then, you know, I figured once I got like something like 84 or something, and I figured once I have 100, I think it'll be big enough where it'll be start to be a pain in the butt if I don't start putting them in packages and stuff, you know.
Yep. Man, the burden of content producers, you know. I don't know, man. I'm looking forward to having stuff done, because like right now I've set a goal of, like, you know, working on this book, and my head's like, okay, I want to do this story and I want to do this story, and I have to sit and go, no, if this is going to be like a 10-page story, we only need like a handful of these for a book. We don't need to do like a 300-page book for one book. It's like, space things out, man. You know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've been writing, and like I came up with the first book's going to be like a one of those, like, since it's going to be a Halloween story, it's going to be like, you know, campfire kind of stories of like, here's a bunch of short, scary stories, and I figured out how many I wanted, and then when I sat down to write, I first wrote just like a 1-sentence blurb for each one, so then that way I could build off of that, because I had a theme for the book, and then I had to figure out which blurbs, and now I'm going on to actually fleshing that out. I was going to try and script each, you know, page and panel and go, you know, page 2, panel 3, and do that stuff, and it's like, that's really weird. It's really kind of hard to think that way. Like I kind of could think of myself a little bit more of a writer than an artist sometimes, but it's like even then I'm just like, this is words, man. I can't visualize this. So I started thumbnailing today with that notebook app I use because it's got a nice diagram system, so you can like stretch out some squares, and type up some text and plop it in, and put a little arrow to the character that's talking, and then draw the little character with the ink tool, which is actually better quality than I expect an inking device to be in a program like this. So hats off to them. So, but the thing is with thumbnailing, it's like I don't want to get too detailed and just get into all this drawing. It's like, oh yeah, this is just the rough thumbnail. I shouldn't be spending an hour doing all that. I should just bang these out as little stick figures and then open it in a dedicated program. But I don't know, man.
I don't know. I was like, I don't know that shit.
Well, I know it's just like, there's stages to doing stuff. Like, you can do stuff off the cuff and just go, I just do a page and then do the next page, and you can do that. But it's very easy to fall in the groove of where you just do a page a day when you really could be doing like 10 pages a day if you tried. And plus, when you do the writing first, you don't have to sit and think about what would he say here and what's his motivation there. It's more like, okay, I gotta draw a guy that looks like this. Okay, I gotta look at what this kind of car looks like. So you're more in an artist mind space, which is a good thing to be in, because being in the writing frame of mind and then having to go to making art and then back and forth, it's not the easiest process to do. I mean, some people can do it easily, but you can be rusty at it too, because I haven't written any comics in a while because I've been trying to do animation stuff, and now I'm backtracking a little bit and trying to do planning out comics, and it's like, oh, this might I know how to do this, it's just I'm a little, I don't know.
Yeah. Getting back up on that bike again.
Yeah, if your voice is the only one that can be heard on this show, there's going to be a lot of dead space. Alright. So, anyway, I think we've tiptoed around the topic enough. Did you want to tell the folks what we're going to be talking about this week before we go into the news?
Yeah, well, I was hoping that we would just talk, hopefully not too long about it, but just a little bit, because, I mean, it seems interesting to me, is just talking about hard drives and backups and, how to be responsible with your information, because it's like, the hard drive is probably one of the most important things on your computer, because it's like it holds all the work that you do, that you spend your whole life on,
Well, hard drives are one of those things that it's like you don't really appreciate them until you have a hard drive failure, and then you realize, oh, all my stuff was on this one thing. It's gone now unless I pay somebody an extreme amount of money to resurrect it. So, yeah, I've been there before. And the first time you have a hard drive failure, and it's like, oh, I could have lost everything. Back up everything onto DVD. All But yeah, we'll talk about that. You asked me to do a little research and looking into some, backup services, and I found a decent amount I think we can talk about. Plus,
well, I figured that you would know a lot, but it'd just be nice to look up something that you didn't know and just have them down to mention, I guess,
Well, it's like I knew them when I was looking into them, but I don't really see any point in paying a service when I could rig something up. It's like anytime I can avoid paying subscription fees to anybody is a good thing, because I don't need people locking me into so much a month or so much a year again and again. So I remember stuff from like 2012 when I was looking into it, but I checked to see if there were new kits on the market. I found some, I found some of the 38 best backup situations, and then one make your own, and I can talk. I've been looking a little bit into hard drives, because since I bought the Ouya that we talked about in the last episode, I've been debating getting an external drive for it. I mean, I don't have much local media I really want to store on it, or on an extra hard drive, but it's like it'd be nice. I mean, plus I could store it on an external hard drive away from my local machine, so it doesn't always need to be running either. So I don't know. I mean, I saw like a a 3 terabyte drive at Walmart the other day, and I was reading that there's going to be like a 6 terabyte from Western Digital coming out soon. It's like, well, alright then.
Yeah.
I mean, every time I buy a hard drive, it's like, this is all I'll ever need, and then it's like it doubles the next year, and it's like, this is all I could ever need in the future. I don't know. I mean, and then you look back at your old technology, it's like, with my RAM, I thought, oh, I've got 10, gigabytes, that should be fine, and now it's like, oh, the operating system alone needs like 4 or 6, and you should do that. Like, what? What nonsense are you kids talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, back when I ran a machine on half a gig of RAM, I've run machines that had like a quarter of a gig of RAM,
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's just like you look at the tablets or even phones these days, they have like 2 gigs of RAM and like quad-core processors. I mean, they're better than what we were using at AIP,
It's crazy stuff, man. So,
I mean, the one computer I have, it was only like a 3 gigahertz. It's like a 1-core, but it originally had like 2 gigs, I think, and then I was able to max it out at 4. But, I mean, that's probably barely enough to get you like a Windows 7 Home Edition or something, I think. I don't know, or maybe Windows 8. I don't know how is like the Mac OSs, are they pretty resource hungry, like the most recent one, like Yosemite especially, I'm sure?
well, I don't know too much about Yosemite's stability. It's still, in the beta system. Mavericks has been I don't know, I notice a lot of my RAM getting ate up more and more, but I don't think it's the operating system. I really think it's the apps are getting very hungry about it, like, web browsers especially. Just like, it's like you close it, all of a sudden you've got 3 gigs of RAM just coming out of nowhere. It's like, well. So, I don't know, man. I mean, it just makes me think of my dad, sitting there while I was telling him he had an old computer. He's like, that computer ain't that old, man. He's like, everyone's like, well, how old is it? Oh, about 10 years. Ooh. It's like, you don't understand, man. Computers are kind of worse than like small animals when it comes to lifespan. If you've got something that's a decade or more older, oh man, you might have to put that behind the fence and just old yeller it. I mean, I'm sorry, there's not much we can do for it. I don't know. But anyway, so did you want to talk about did you want to do the news, Ian?
Okay, let's start off the news then.
Headlines with Ian.
Hello, I am Ian. I will bring you the news with
The
an
news
automated
brought to you-
system.
The news brought to you by IanBot 5000. Beep boop boop. And they just Halloween weeks ago where they talked about robots writing the news, and now they've got one delivering it. Oh well. I welcome our new
I
robot
advanced
overlords.
algorithm.
Ah, boy. So anyway, Ian.
Okay, well, this first article here, since we're doing an episode about hard drives, I figured this will be a good one. This one is about the liquid hard drive that could store a terabyte of data in a tablespoon of fluid. And it actually uses like microscopic particles suspended in some kind of liquid that actually somehow would store data, which I think is pretty crazy. And I'll link you guys to the article here.
All right. And I'm gonna try the share links with the crowd. We'll see what that does for the Hangout. I've never used this new feature before. Showcase. Add an item from a website.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. I press the button.
We'll see.
Okay.
blew up.
So you show the item. Let's see. Successfully saved, pending, shown, okay, show item. So I don't know. I don't know if it's showing up. I don't know how to use this magical device. I'm just gonna turn that off. And again, you can visit NoRightsProductions.com, the following blog post about the podcast for all links that appear in the show. So, moving along, what's going on in this liquid hard drive, Ian?
I don't know. It's looks like a lot of black magic to me, but it says that a team of materials scientists, researchers from the U.S. may have just made the first breakthrough that could make so-called soft matter a viable data storage medium at some incredible storage densities according to the new research. Microscopic particles suspended in liquid could be used to encode the same 1s and 0s, or the ones and zeros stored on solid hard drive platters today.
Solid hard drive versus liquid. That's just funny that we're just now getting solid state drives, and they're like, no, you got a liquid one. It melts down and turns into a Terminator. So.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to be able to go and buy this at Best Buy tomorrow. I mean,
I'm sure this right now is probably in some lab somewhere, and it's probably like a whole desktop, desk size, and they're like, we don't know how the common person's going to get this, because I mean, imagine having all your data on an Etch-a-Sketch. Shh. Now put that in a little cube of liquid. Shh.
Yeah.
I'm all for the idea. I just don't know how. I'd just like to see somebody make it work where it's not going to be, make it idiot-proof is what I'm saying. Because, this stuff looks great and would work well in labs, but till, Joe Consumer can get it and not, smash his head into it and break it the first time he uses it. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, didn't they... I thought I saw something, a long time ago where, you could even somehow store information in crystal or something. I don't know. That's this this sort of the same thing with those whole crystal skulls thing, where all that information was stored from aliens on crystal skulls or whatever. I don't know.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go for a phantom zone kind of thing. You can store the data in the zone, and inside is General Zod. Neo before Zod. Here's your hard drive files.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, even in the paranormal world, they say that's how a lot of those residual hauntings or whatever, where you have extreme memories, at battlefields and all that stuff. That's ingrained into the surroundings or whatever, and that information is stored in haunted houses in the walls or whatever. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but paranormal activity just say, hey, it's magic, and somebody died here. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Because most paranormal stuff is you kind of want to believe it. So, like what's that old saying? 75% of people believe in numbers as long as you don't start them at 100%.
Yeah.
It's that sounds like a believable number. I'll listen to that. So, all right. So, any more points you want to talk about this one, or should we move on to story number 2?
No, I mean, we could move on.
All right.
Okay, this one, I guess it was just some rumors or whatever. I'm pretty sure people are pretty sure, though, it's pretty solid, but I guess it's just hearsay for now. But it says that Google buys live streaming service Twitch.
Yeah,
for
they bought
$1 billion.
$1 billion.
Yeah.
So.
And I guess it's supposed to be official, but it's at the same time it's just rumors. It's not official or anything.
Well, there hasn't been a big statement about it yet, has there?
I don't think so.
All right.
Do you?
No, I've just heard people
think
talking
so?
about it.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting. I mean, Google is slowly buying the world, so
Yeah.
that's.
Google
I don't know,
will rule the world, huh?
I mean, Google sometimes for some things they're really efficient and good, and then other times you sit and worry like, oh wait, they're not going to try and put Twitch through the Google Plus system, are they? Please no, because that would immediately kill a lot of the potential of Twitch. I don't know. Twitch isn't.
That would be a bitch then, huh? Twitch.
Ah, boy. I don't know. Twitch. I mean, Twitch has a huge user base right now, so I think it's no surprise that somebody came and swooped them up. So it's just just like when Google bought YouTube. It's like the first year everything kind of looked still YouTubey, but then they started creeping in with the hey, guess what, Google Plus things, and we're gonna change stuff, and it's like, oh no. Like they've done it sneakily. They didn't like day one change everything. So right now I expect for like the first couple year or so to be samey on Twitch's level, but you'll start seeing some stuff change. I don't know. See a report of how they collect data or something. And that's what happens when Google buys you. Something's gonna happen. It's like when Facebook bought the Oculus Rift. It's like people hear about it. Stuff happens.
Yeah. Well, it's just like you said with it's just like with Facebook and the Oculus Rift thing. It's just that's just them trying to get in their foot in the door or whatever when you see companies buying random companies,
Well, it's like they're big and they might do something with it. They might not, I mean, Google has a habit of starting a program and then even if it becomes a success going, we don't feel like doing this anymore. It's the Google Reader. We're just not doing that anymore. But what? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, try to showcase this
Okay. This next one it's not about technology or anything, but it's sort of gross. But I just thought it was sort of crazy. This one is about mayfly swarm wreaks havoc in upper Midwest. Some Wisconsin and Minnesota residents had a big cleanup job this week after a huge swarm of mayflies emerged from the Mississippi River, blanketing light posts, making roadways slick, and lighting up radar screens. So you could actually, the swarms were so big, you could actually see them on the weather radar or whatever. And it was so gross, so I guess they had, they was so thick it blocked out the sun a little bit, like you see in movies or whatever. And they got so bad on the roads and the cars where they actually had to use snow plows to scoop up all the mayflies. It's pretty gross.
Yeah, it reminds me of what is it, 7 years when we have the cicadas, except significantly worse. I mean, I remember reading about, was it the carrier pigeon or the passenger pigeon? But the one they used to use for sending messages back, in before telegrams and stuff, that they used to travel in flocks that were so big that they could take an hour to pass and have millions of different birds in it, and it'd be like a dust storm that could move and make noise. So I don't know. That's gotta be disturbing for anybody going through it, looking up in the sky, going, "What is that? And why is it moving?" So I don't know.
I guess it was a mating season, so it was one giant orgy.
Well, that's what
Gross.
they do. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Natural side. Dang, nature, you scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Nature is always an interesting thing. I mean, if you've ever seen the anglerfish, it looks like something a cartoonist would make up, and it's like, no, that's a real fish. Whoa. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I've always hated, like, you know, like mosquitoes and stuff, you know, it's just, I mean, it's gross and it's a big annoyance, you know, during the summer when it's, like, really muggy out.
Yeah, well...
Especially, like, with the horse flies.
Yeah, flies, dragonflies, house flies, shoe flies. Oh, man. So, yeah. Next news story, Ian.
Okay. This one is funny. I mean, we've talked about this type of thing, but I just thought it was funny. This one is about, you know, more posting on Facebook and getting in trouble. This one is about a suspect's Facebook post. Y'all will never catch me. I guess he was violating his probation, and then the police were trying to find him on Facebook or whatever, and he said he called them cowards or whatever, and you know, he's just being an idiot down there, and
well, people
never catch me.
Well, that's the thing about the whole anonymity of the internet and being able to hide behind a keyboard or a phone and be able to go, hey, oh, look how big bad I am. You know, just like when those people at work at, like, you know, that Burger King where the guy was standing on top of a thing of lettuce and taking pictures and sharing it, and they tracked the ID info from the photo and found out where that store was, and he got fired and trouble for causing health concerns, and or that. What was that woman working at KFC that took a bath in the industrial, like, sink, and there was a guy that did that too, and I don't know. Like, people think they're being funny when, like, look what I did at work. Okay, well, I found out where you work at, and yeah, you should really run these photos through some sort of cleaner first for you know, before you post pictures of stuff, and it's like, come on now. I mean, especially now that there's stuff where, like, governments are, you know, like when there's, you know, an uprising in some country and they use photos from Facebook and find out where the where the stuff is happening. It's like there's ways to figure all kinds of stuff out. So bragging might sound like a good idea if you're, like, posting on some public chat, you know, like what are those, internet cafes or something, you know, something like that maybe.
Yeah.
But even then, it'd be like, you know, I have to do this and run away. It's like, you know, a lot of these people would be caught just sitting there all day doing, like, oh, look at me, I'm breaking parole, I'm doing this, you know. Here I am eating a sandwich, you know.
Yeah. His name was Roger Ireland, by the way.
Okay.
Just thought I mentioned that.
So he was just violating parole and bragging about it.
Or probation, violating probation.
Oh.
I guess. Yeah, he was wanted on charges of violating his probation. So, yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, considering that there's a I think a Twitter account, either Twitter or Instagram, where it's just don't post pictures of your credit card online, and it keeps finding people who've posted pictures, and it's like, guess what? Everyone knows how to use your credit card now. It's like, well, we need to have a service that's like, just don't go near a computer if you don't know how to basic security things. It'd be like taking photos of your mail with your addresses or your account info. Yeah, it's just basic stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Dumb crook stories will always be amusing as long as as long as nobody's injured in the thing.
Yeah. Okay. And this next one, I always got to put in some kind of Big Brother news story in here, but this one is how the Internet of Things knows where gunfire happens. It says
how the Internet of
SSTs,
Things?
Yeah. I guess they're just talking about the Internet, I guess. I'm not sure. It says SST's Shot Spotter pinpoints outdoor urban gunshots for law enforcement agencies. Now it's moving indoors with a service for schools. It says, hold on here, a company called SST has been doing that with technology called Spot Shotter that spreads an array of computer-powered microphones across the city. They notice the sharp crack of outdoor gunfires, then send the data to a computer that calculates just when the shots were fired based on how long it took the audio signal to reach the microphones. So, I guess they were trying to incorporate those into like light posts and stuff, you know.
Well, I
guess they have it implemented in a university and a school so far, like one or two, I guess.
Well, I mean, when it's detecting when people fire gunshots, I think that can be kind of seen as, you know, a good thing. It's like, hey, shots are fired. Because at any point, you know, anybody outside of a target range fires a gun, it's probably a good thing that people know about it. But, you know, I mean, it's perfectly legal to have and carry a gun, but it's like, if you're in the middle of a street and you just start shooting, they kind of want to find out as soon as possible. So.
Right. I'm not sure how like sensitive the microphones are, if they could just hear people talking there or not, you know. I mean, obviously they would probably say that it couldn't, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not an engineer or anything, you know.
Well, I mean, you know, there's all kinds of stuff built, you know, like you said, they want to put it into lampposts and, you know, I'm sure crosswalks and stuff like that. I mean, you know, I don't know, man. I mean, how you think about, like, you know, was it crosswalks and lights? They've got that detection where you can, like, it'll detect when your car creeps up on the curb, so it'll turn on. Otherwise, it'll just keep one light going and won't bother switching to it, you know.
Right.
Or like there's those people that figured out how to hack like street lights so that they act like, you know, cop cars, because how a cop can flash the lights and the light it'll like turn green just so the cop can go through. Yeah, it's a lot of technology, man. It's weird.
I don't know. I mean, it would be something that I would want to be aware of, though, that it's there at least, you know, instead of like, them just like trying to have it hidden, you know.
Well, I mean, just like with video cameras, you know, every store you go into that has a security camera, they got that little thing that says, "Oh, you're being monitored," you know. But I don't know. Depends on how ubiquitous it gets. I mean, you know, we could end up like, what is it, the UK, where they've got, you know, cameras for like every 3 people. So.
Yeah.
Oh well.
That would be crazy.
Not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, for the most part, I'm sure when we're out in the busy city area, we're probably being filmed to some degree. So.
Yeah. And plus they have like the facial recognition on the cameras too. Actually, I remember seeing like a TV show. I forget what it was called. It was like some kind of game show where they, where like it was like they had like 3 people, I think, or I think it was just one person on the show. I forget, but they had to somehow get to an area and like have bought like a certain amount of things, but you know, like they had like limited resources, so like every time like the authorities had to like track them down or whatever. So they like if they use a credit card, obviously they what?
So it's basically how off grid can you be in the game show?
Yeah, I think it was called off the grid or whatever. But so yeah, like I mean, obviously, if you use the credit card that you were given, they would be able to track you at that point, and they would try to chase you down in a car or on foot there. You know, it was sort of crazy.
I saw a thing not too long ago about a guy where he had this like surveillance thing where you could go into somebody's car, hook it up in like under their hood or like something plugged into the computer, and then you could go to your laptop and track them. You know, it's like if they're not near their car, that you could easily place it in like 5 minutes. You know, it's like, well, this exists. Don't.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And in the show, they were able to access like the city's cameras and stuff, and I guess they did have like facial recognition built into it. So if they were, like out in the open, it would help them be able to track them down more.
Well, I mean, whenever there's a bombing suspect, they always have a photo of them that they managed to grab somewhere from. It's like they had to use recognition to be able to track the person some way or another. So that can be useful. I don't know, it's really interesting that today we have shows that talk about technology and all the weird stuff like this, and then we have dating naked and naked and afraid. It's like, okay, you gotta be suspicious of people, but then also boobs. But they're blurred out, but they're there. It's... I don't know. Every time I see it, I flip through channels sometimes and I see shows like that on, and I'm just like, who's this for? And then my dad starts talking to me about, did you watch that Surviving Naked or whatever? He starts like, I bet I could do that. I wouldn't know because, I'm getting old now, but, still I'd like to prove how tough I am and do something like that. I'm like, yeah, right. I don't understand why you would ever, but okay.
Yeah.
This conversation turned weird.
I mean, it was... yeah, it sort of did. But
then you think about Japanese game shows where they've got like the Wipeout, and it's like a whole bunch of naked people, and it's like, don't get touched by a naked person. Ooh. Or like, what was that one with the lady sticking their head with covered lettuce into the thing with the alligators chomping around or something? I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Game shows are weird, man.
The only one that I really liked was that Ninja Warrior show, which I watched that American Ninja Warrior. It's definitely different than the original one, though.
Well, a lot of shows are different from the originals. Like, I mean, I've seen people compare, like, that Gordon Ramsay show, the UK version, to the American version. It's like, if you watch the American one and you're hooked on that, and then you go watch the UK one, it's like, they're being polite and everything isn't really all, like, suspense-driven and pumped up. It's like, that's because we're Americans, and that's how we roll nowadays. It's like, no, you gotta amp up the drama. And it's like, I don't believe this crap. I'm not. I don't know, man.
Yeah, but like I said, it was an interesting show off the grid because it's like they had to like buy like certain items, and then they had to get to the finish line, and then you had to be there with those items, I believe, at the finish line. And then I think the one guy that made it, they interviewed him at the end, and he said the one thing that he got out of this was like how little privacy that we have when we're using technology and stuff,
And how did he manage to win? Well, he knew a guy named Red who could get you things.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a bad one, but I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
What I would have done if I was the guy on the show, I was thinking is I would have at first used the credit card because I think, isn't there places where you can like buy cash with a credit card or something? I don't know. But I would have tried to do that and just use cash for the rest of things,
Well, I mean, it depends on if you want
to.
It depends on how you want to play. Like, if you want to be a guy who does stuff to throw people off the trail, give your friend your credit card and have him buy stuff at the other end of town while you use cash somewhere,
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Well, it depends on how much effort it'd be. Like, if you were trying to do a race, it might not have been worth it. And two, if you really want to give your friend a credit card, you better be hoping to win something big during that game.
Yeah. They did have some kind of money prize. I forget how much, though.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. But yeah, so that's the news for today. The standard 5 articles I try to do.
Ian's news you can't use. I mean, you can use. Well, I'm just saying, it's like,
don't abuse.
Knowing about a liquid hard drive is awesome, but it's like, nobody's going to be able to use that for at least, 5-10 years? But then we see that on the market.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's a cool thing to know about, like that bug thing. That, it's a cool news story. It's just, as long as we're not by the, Mississippi River, I think it's okay. that reminds me of something real quick. When I was on that road trip, the thing my mom noticed the most was we drove over the Mississippi, and all of a sudden we started realizing that some places the asphalt was red. And she's like, oh, it must be the mud from the Mississippi. Then we drove further away from it, and there was other asphalt that was red. She's like, what's up with this? Like, yeah, they probably must be in the rocks in the area. And she's formulating this huge hypothesis about it. I'm like, can you just agree that maybe they use local quarries and the rocks are probably red? It's not a conspiracy. Why is the asphalt red in this part of the country and here it's not? I don't know. So.
Yeah. Are you planning on taking any more trips here?
I don't know. My dad asked me the same question because he watched over our cat while we were away, and I don't know.
Oh, he did. That's nice.
Yeah. Well, he was complaining though because when we were away, he and her were best buddies, and then I came back and he's like, that cat doesn't want anything to do with me now. Like, I see how she is. She's a turncoat. Like, turncoat? What is this, 1840? I don't know. So I don't think we're going to be taking any more this year. Who knows? I mean, we might want to see some of the country. I just don't know when we'll take vacation time. So anyway, that's the news for this week, huh? So
yeah.
Did you want to get?
Did you have any news of your own that you wanted to mention here, real quickly? Anything you've noticed in your universe here?
In my universe?
Yeah.
No, nothing groundbreaking for me to report, so let's move on to the main topic of the show this week.
Okay. I just was curious if they had any other, any new, versions of software that you're using, Harmony or whatever,
Well, I mean, let's see. There is a new version of, because Rogue Amoeba, the guys that make Audio Hijack Pro, Nicecast, and a bunch of nice audio software I use, including free software like the one I'm using to switch my input and output with SoundSource. Yeah, but they've released some new versions of their stuff to be compatible with the Yosemite betas. So something to be aware of. It's nice since they've changed the instant on thing that grabs audio. So now you don't have to restart your computer to do it. Because before, every time you update it, it's like, oh, we need to restart. Now it's like, no, you don't need to restart. It's cool. It's like, that's great. I don't know. Let's see. This weekend I did tinker around some with the Pseudo TV. So I've been adding some channels, and still need to add some more.
Yeah, you could talk about that a little bit, because I am gonna mention, how you access access files and stuff over the network and stuff,
Well,
DLNA and stuff,
Well, I installed the Dropbox app, but I can't get it to open, so I might need to try and find a different version of it or something. I don't know. So I'm still trying to figure out a better solution to access the XML file that I have to get into to edit some of the settings. So I don't know. My brother's setup though, he's had his auto tuning things, and it finds a lot more channels for his. He added another plugin and ticked some more boxes and had over 600 channels programming in or something. It's like, well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't have that many. I'll have him look over my stuff over the weekend and help me add stuff. But I do want to keep my the channels I've made, but then also some auto tune stuff. Because like I said before, I tried the auto tune stuff before, and I didn't quite care for some of the channels it made, and it's running through some more now. I changed a few things in my setup. I set it. You can set the number of media that show up in each channel to be the default was 10. You can go 100, 1,000, or unlimited. I was just worried that if I take that, it would be it would just start spinning and nothing work. But I've got that working, and I also changed in my XML. I have YouTube channels added, and I would add the channels, and I would only set it to add like 25 episodes, the last 25 or whatever from that channel, so that way it wouldn't get overloaded. And once I realized, oh, I can just put this in with an empty variable, and it'll load up like the whole channel pretty much. I was just paranoid because some channels have like 800 plus videos, and it's like, well, that could be a problem when you've got like 2,000 videos, and it's got to cycle through them, so I don't know. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. But I need to play around with that stuff. It's just I'm pretty busy too, man. It's like that is definitely a thing that I want to set some time aside for, and just start playing around with,
I'm trying to save it for my like evenings and weekend thing, It's like when I finish the work in the studio, then I can move to futzing around with the entertainment thing, because I don't want to spend like another week on that when I could be making a thing and trying to sell it for money. So, all right. So,
okay, man.
What did you want to talk about, Ian?
Okay, well, with this hard drive, we're talking about hard drives and stuff. Hopefully you were listening earlier, and we mentioned that we're going to be talking about hard drives and backups. And if you were listening and you didn't know that we were talking about hard drives, you might not even understand what we're about to say with this. So,
all right.
I figured we'd break this down to like according to like the physical media of storing stuff on. First, I guess we'll just start with the external things. I mean, there's tons of ways that you can back up things. You can back them up on. Back in the day, you could do the original floppy disks, which was like 1.5 megabytes, right?
It depends. The original floppy disks, I don't know. I don't remember. So.
Yeah, and then they had those. What were those other disc like things? The zip disks. Those could hold like 256 megabytes, I think. Those were pretty popular
discs,
back.
The jazz discs.
Yeah, those were pretty popular back in the early days of AIP. Like 2003 and stuff.
Well, some places still require them, just like places that still require beta tapes, and some places, still require fax lines. It's, it's what they've got. They have no reason to change, so.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, and you have VHS and beta tapes. I mean, those are more for, like video and stuff, but you're technically holding information on them, and there's probably different versions of things like what was before floppy disks that you could store stuff on that was even smaller.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen, certain systems let you save stuff on cassette tape. The Commodore 64.
Oh yeah,
for
cassette.
Example.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. But I mean, you could pretty much store data on lots of things. Anything that can, where you can input zeros and ones on it.
Mm-hmm.
Or we've even talked about, like how you could even use like clay pots to store like the waveform of audio.
Theoretically, I don't think it's really been
theoretically.
done, but yeah.
Well, I think didn't they do something like that on MythBusters or something?
They tested it and they're like, we can't get a sound out of this, so I'm sure there's probably some kind of clay, and you could probably set up a kind of needle, but like, I think in the experiment that they had it set up like, accidentally happened, like, oh, it happened to be on a potter's wheel, and oh, it just happened to capture the voice of Jesus, It's like, well, the likelihood of this kind of just happening, it's not impossible, maybe improbable, I think. So.
Yeah. And then you do have CD you can store information on. They were originally made for music, but you can use them. You can have data CDs or whatever for just regular files, and those could range from. I remember I used to have those little ones that were like 350 megabytes that were like a couple inches wide, like the mini CDs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had, didn't they have dual layers CDs that you could have?
Yeah, there's dual layer CDs, there's dual layer DVDs too, so.
Yeah, so it's pretty much just double the space of whatever it is, right?
Yeah, and then there's also, there's CDs, there's the CD-R, which you burn permanently too, and then there's the RW, which you can write and erase from, which is kind of, I don't know. I remember back in the day when I had one RW and I just kept reusing it all the time. It's like, no, I'll just keep using it until this thing cracks. Why?
Yeah, that's how my friend Mike. That's how my friend Mike was back at AIP. He would just reburn like all of his information on a DVD RW and kept just like clockwork. Just would bring it out and then take his files off it, and then at the end of the class he would just burn them back on.
Well, we all know the guy that emails stuff to himself. I kind of have to do it right now until I get the situation worked out with the Ouya. I mean, when I was at AIP, I just carried my external hard drive around because it's like I kind of have to, because my laptop, I don't think it was as portable as the hard drive was, and the hard drive took up a couple of cables, but it still was more portable than the laptop was. So
yeah. And yeah, I'll talk about that in a second, but with the USB, but as with the external storage though, CDs are like 700 megabytes, and then it'd be 1400 for the dual layer, and then DVDs were 4.7 gigabytes you could store on them, and then I think Blu-rays they're like 25 gigabytes, aren't they? And if you do dual layer, you could do 50.
I have no idea about Blu-ray, because all I've done is play them. I haven't written anything to those. I haven't bought a new hard drive,
Yeah, me neither.
Burn it. I haven't got any new drives or anything in a while, so.
Yeah. And then you could also use SD cards, which are nice, and the micro SD cards, which are small. I have one of those little adapters that go from micro SD to the regular SD, so you could put it in a reader.
Yeah, I had one of those, and then I've also had the card reader that like you just plug whatever type of card into it. Although I don't know if mine cracked recently or not. I don't know, but it's nice to have the little Swiss Army knife of readers. So
yeah, I just got one of those. I installed in my computer.
Also, don't forget the little USB. Don't forget the little flash drives, little thumb drives.
Yep, I'm gonna mention those. Those are nice too. But
I mean, it's nice to have just a keychain that can store like 2 gigabytes of storage space. Like back in the day, man, 2 gigabytes, like that's a lot, man. That's like a couple CD. That's like a DVD of content. It takes you forever to burn one of them.
Now you could get the 128 gigabytes on a thumb drive,
Well, I mean, what was that picture on the internet of like the, 1980s? Here's a gigabyte, here's a computer that has like, a gigabyte drive or a, 300 gigabyte, thing. It's as big as a car tire. And now it's like on this micro SD card, you put like a terabyte of data.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And then you were talking about the external hard drives. They have, usually there's 2 main form factors. The one where you could like fit in your pocket, which just requires like a USB power, and then there's the one I had to lug around back at AIP, which you needed a separate power, so you had to plug in the outlet and the USB. Those were, they're usually like 5.5 or 6 inches wide,
Phantom power. I love when you plug it into a USB hub and then it says, oh, this thing doesn't have the power to power this device. Well, then why am I using this? So.
Yeah. Yeah, I always got confused about that with Mike. So phantom power means that you need an external power source, right?
I don't think so. I think Phantom means it runs off.
Phantom power is you could go through the USB then for the power.
Yeah, that's why it would be a Phantom, because it wouldn't be, because otherwise it'd be like wall power. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, like when you plug in XLRs for mics, isn't it powered through the XLR itself? Usually.
I have no idea. I don't know what all goes through XLR cables because I don't have any. Because there's no reason for me to have that kind of device around here.
But yeah, USB external ones are nice. I have one just in case that there's a fire or whatever. I could just grab it. You know, I try to back up on that occasionally. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's see what other kinds you can have. Obviously, you can have an internal hard drive. That's nice, and then you can buy those shells that turn your internal hard drive into an external one. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can do
cases.
vice versa. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
SATA cases. And then you could always take out the hard drive out of the external ones and then put it internally into the computer. You know.
Yeah, or you could buy like a RAID and plug them into that. So.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna talk about next. Is the NAS, like the Drobos or whatever, you know.
Yeah, we mentioned that last week's show.
Yeah, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, sometimes even 5 drives, and those can range from like 200 to, well, whatever you want to pay for it, I guess, you know, into the thousands, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, would you rather have a Drobo, or would you rather pay for, like, you know, a rack-mounted server somewhere and have, you know, guys having to, you know, get lifters to move stuff and, you know. I don't know.
Yeah. And then next I was going to talk about, like, ways you can, like, with the NAS systems, usually you plug an Ethernet port in. Sometimes they have, like, a USB adapter so you can plug it in straight to the computer. But usually it's an Ethernet cord. That's how you access the files over a network. And it's nice a lot of times when they have, like, you can get routers or whatever where it has a USB where you could plug your external hard drive or whatever into the router, you know. I don't have one of those, but I think my friend Mike does.
Yeah, the Ouya thing, I believe, comes with an Ethernet port, so...
Yeah.
But I don't really have a way to get to it from my computer, which is in the other room from it, so...
Right. And so that's pretty much all I know for the external storage, you know, and, you know, like physical storage, I guess, unless if I missed one, you know, you could let me know.
What, you can't scroll stuff on a tablet now? Tablet's not good for you? Well, I mean, I saw a thing not too long ago about, there was an article from like the 1800s that somebody found in a book of like a teacher complaining, oh, students are using paper too easy now, and they don't know how to properly clean and wipe a slate. It's like, what happens if they can't use paper? You know, like, okay, so you had people complaining about paper back in the day, and there was another quote from somebody during like Plato's time complaining about everybody was writing a book. It's like, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, also I forgot to mention, I mean, hopefully everyone by now knows that what the difference between SSD is and a regular hard drive is. SSD just that it has no moving parts, you know, it's a solid state drive.
Now,
but those are usually more expensive.
Now, when you say regular hard drive, that's like saying, oh, hey, do you drive a standard or do you drive an automatic? It's like, well, automatic's kind of the standard now, isn't it? Yeah, but we're still going to call it what we used to call it, because why change things around, right? I don't know.
Well, when I say a regular hard drive, I mean ones that have like a spinning platter internally in the hard drive.
Mm-hmm. That
you have a needle that has to read off the platter.
Versus
sort of like
solid state drives. I mean, you know, when you talk about it, it reminds me of, I think, Steve Wozniak in his book I Was, where he was talking about, when he made the first computers, and he's like, when I didn't have RAM, when I didn't have the money for it, or couldn't figure out how to make, a home computer that could store, all this stuff, he's like, I would just have my little notebook handy, and I would type it up into the computer when I was running it, and it would run it fine, but it couldn't store it if the power went out. And he's like, then I went and I got these special chips, and he's like, I burned it, and I had just enough room to put my operating system on it, so that I didn't have to spend a half hour or whatever typing it in every time I wanted to turn the thing on. It's like, man, that's dedication. Have to literally type it in and load it into the machine in order for it to even start. So I don't know. I mean, at the time, when they had the computer club and everything, that was like, they were just going to sell kits to people that wanted to make them at home and everything. It's like, they were like the Raspberry Pi of their day. Now it's like, oh, I got this beefy beast, and it's like, oh, I want to solder and learn how to make a miniature computer. I don't know.
Yeah. And then, I guess lastly, you could say on the list is now they're trying to develop the liquid hard drives, I guess, and then theoretically one day we'll be able to store information on DNA, So.
Well, it's like, remember Johnny Mnemonic, where he had that data in his brain? And it's like, that just seems impractical. A lot of that. So, and I believe you wanted me to give a little bit of info on other kinds of backup services.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, as far as like the over the network type of storage, you could do an FTP server, which is just like a file server, I believe.
File transfer protocol. Yeah.
Yeah, file transfer protocol, and you could just access like the hard drive over the network or whatever. I have like one of those apps where I could do an FTP server on my phone, and I can access like the SD card and stuff over the computer.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do have cloud backups, and then like just regular storage backup systems. I mean, really, cloud is not really anything new technically. It's still technically just like file sharing, which has been around forever.
Yeah, it's just, it's more like, just like having a website, you can enter in all these numbers, or you can just put in a name for it, it's like, it's giving access to, like, okay, here's how you access our stuff. I mean, there's a few things that are like, they invented it, and for their needs, and, like, it's special logins and protocols or whatever, but, it's a lot of it's built on the same technology, I'm sure. That's been around forever.
Yeah. But I mean, really, cloud and like backup services, they are different, because backup, they just back up your information. Like, you get so much information or whatever, they'll back up for you for a fee. And then cloud is, I guess you can run applications and stuff off the cloud, or you can store stuff on it. It's more of like a Swiss Army knife, I guess.
Well, like backup services like, Carbonite and stuff like that, I think they're set, you back up your main system once, and then you can, like, some of them you can set like every so many hours or so many days do a more backup, or like, well, with cloud is like you just put your file there, or like with Dropbox, you can have versioning, so like you can put a file there and then find it again later and access any changes you might have screwed up on something. So, I mean,
right.
It depends on also what's accessing it, because, Amazon's cloud and their potential is different from what, the Adobe's cloud software does, so, but, yeah, so I guess did you want me to start sharing the links I found, or?
Yeah, what are some good backup storages? I mean, like you said, there is Carbonite is a pretty mainstream one. What other ones have you found?
Well, I found on Wikipedia, they've got a big comparison chart of online backup services. So, they show what stuff different ones have, like what operating system it runs, personal encryption, a lot of stuff, and it's pretty big chart, which, yeah, that's a creepy thing to look at. Also, let's see, here's 38 online backup services reviewed, so I'll just post that in the show, and, I've got when I Googled it, the top three of these came up pretty quickly, Backblaze, CrashPlan, and Carbonite. But then there's other ones, Oh, I remember Mosey. I haven't heard much about that one in a while. But yeah, those are, regular backups. And then here's an article by Lifehacker, 5 best online backup services. So, yeah, so that's another one.
That's cool.
And let's see. Then I've got the top 3. I'd say those are like the top 3, or at least those are the top Google search ones that you're gonna find. You're gonna find, Carbonite, CrashPlan, and Carbonite, CrashPlan, and Backblaze, which I'd never heard of, and now apparently it's like the top one for most of the review sites I saw. So.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
So, and then also best cloud backups. 10 online backup services tested for like a little buyer's guide. It's pretty easy if you Google. You'll find people reviewing like, oh, here are the best ones, or here's use these or that. Also, I thought I'd mention iCloud because I've got a Mac. They want you to put everything through it. I don't use it because it's a subscription thing, and I'm not paying for a backup service like that. And it's a little annoying when stuff like comes on and it's like, oh, enter your password to log into it. No, we're not doing that. But I have it. No, I don't have one. I'm not. So, also, how to build a bulletproof cloud backup system without spending a dime, from PC World. Now, I don't know how accurate or old this is because the article doesn't have a date in the URL, but I figure it'd be a nice thing to share because it recommends a lot of different services you can use without spending money, like how to back up your bookmarks, and, if you want to divvy things up, you can find places to do, with certain limits to store your stuff. Like you can use Dropbox, you can use Xmarks for your bookmarks, which is what I use. You can also use stuff like, is Delicious still around? I don't even know.
I think it is.
Google Play has their cloud system, I think. I don't know.
Google
another
Drive
thing.
Or whatever.
No, Google Drives are different. They're more storage than like Google has a music thing. At least they did. I think it had a limit. They might quit adding new stuff. I don't know. But oh yeah, another reason to have the cloud stuff with like iCloud and Match, and I think Amazon has a similar service where it's like, you can find stuff in your library that you already own, or like, and match it so you don't have to upload it, just find it. So like, especially if you,
right.
Which is a good thing to have if you've got an old copy that has like a bunch of scratches on the disc and it skips, or you don't want to spend time ripping your library, Let's see.
It sounds like.
Let's see. If you still need to back up email, use MailStore is one they recommend. Back up everything else for free with Cubby. So, it's just that's just one thing to recommend. Also, I want to recommend Pogo Plug because they're like we've talked about before. They sell. You can get it's a thing you plug into your hard drive and it makes it internet accessible. So it makes like a drive, basically your own Dropbox. But it's over your, it's like you can make the drive as however big you want it, and you can do whatever you want because you don't have to worry about somebody else. Also, there are hard drives that are powered by Pogo Plug now. I saw these at Walmart the other day where they're like, little their own little, basically Dropbox in a box kind of thing.
Yeah, those cloud in a box or whatever.
Yeah, I think I saw something. I think that's what it was. I don't know. It's It's an interesting idea. I remember a long time ago, Leo Laporte did a review of the Pogo plug, saying it was a neat idea, but he'd like to see what happens with it down the road. And I don't know, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, I think Belkin or one of those other networking companies had like a hard drive like that. I think, I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's just a nice option to have. Like when we talked about the roll your own situation, it's like, would you rather be paying for a service, or would you rather just be able to build, your own little network at home and use it? Which I think that kind of thing is a good thing to have if you've got a family that has a lot of data. If you want to have, your movies, and then your kids have their computers with their movies, and you got a brother who's got his stuff, and you all want to share stuff in case, because why have multiple copies of a thing? It just that just doesn't make any sense. So
as long as when your kids doesn't delete everything or something,
Well, I mean, that's also like we talked about with, making a hard drive. You gotta make stuff idiot-proof, like, getting people that can access stuff, but, like share a library and just share it, but they can only read, they can't write, you gotta figure that kind of stuff out. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Also, it's interesting.
It is interesting. I didn't have time, or I should have asked you maybe to look up too, is the one thing that I use is called SyncBack Pro. It's mainly just for like the desktop hard drive mirroring, so it's more for like local stuff, but you can mirror your hard drive onto another hard drive, and it's you can specify different parameters of when you could do it like schedule a backup every so often, or you can do it when it like if the size of the hard drive, like if the hard drive or whatever folder you're mirroring, if that changes, it'll start copying it then. Or if the folder is so old, like, it'll copy it. And there's other parameters you can tell it to do. So it's like if you want to try to manually mirror like a folder or whatever, if you have dozens of files, it's hard to tell by hand instead of having to copy over the whole hard drive, especially if you have like terabytes of data. Instead of spending hours recopying that over, it's best to just copy the files that you've updated or changed on it, So, the one, like I said, the one that I use is called SyncBack Pro, and I'm sure that the other ones out there that are decent, but that's the one that I use for local mirroring. And then if you want to do the online stuff for backups, that's nice. I think you said, Ben, that somebody said it's good to have 3 backups or something like that.
Yeah, you want to have, for redundancy's sake. I mean, that's the nice thing about RAIDs and like the Drobo is that you can always, one drive will fail, but you'll still have backups in the system. But realistically, you want to have, your main file on your computer's hard drive, then a backup on an external hard drive, and then you want to have it off-site in case your house burns down. And you also probably want to, and technically you probably should be burning like every month or so, burn just a DVD of all your files and label it so that way like, oh, in 1997, here's where I had this or that. I don't do that, but when I was in school I had to, because like you had so many classes and it's like you didn't have a hard drive or you had to be moving back and forth. It's like just burn out and give to the professor for the backups,
It's like, do as we say, not as we do. It's like, it's a good idea to do this. I don't do it, but
well, it's those things where it's like I always like to learn as much about a program or about how to do something, so that when I leave stuff out, I can have reasons for it, Because like some people, they're like, I don't see the point in that. It's like, well, if you don't do that, it will die in 2 days. It's like, it's a good thing to know why. So like, I don't do too much redundant backup just for the fact that it's extra work and getting them all to be in sync with each other. Because if your backup hard drive, misses an update and you can't plug it in, but you've got an update somewhere else, and then it copies. If your backup software copies that over to the one thing, what does it overwrite? And if you want to save versions, that doubles, triples, whatever the the amount it is. So depends on how you want to save things. I mean, it depends on also how smart the backup thing is. It can decide that, okay, some stuff, whatever doesn't change, don't copy that, but like things like contact lists and things that do change. But yeah, you're sharing a thing you use on PC. I'm going to share 2 Mac ones that I know of. There's a Super Duper.
Okay, that's cool.
Is a very popular commercial product, I believe, and I've used Carbon Copy Cloner, which is a free backup. You can make bootable drive copies with it. So,
oh, that's nice.
Which that's the thing people talk about is like, you can't really clone a Windows hard drive technically legally, even if you own it, I think. Or I don't know. It's kind of weird because I heard them talking about on another tech show. They're like, yeah, it's kind of hard to clone a drive unless you're doing it for your own backup purposes, and you got to use this kind of thing. And
well, actually, I would have to. I think I would have to disagree with you because the Windows does have a backup and restore. It'll save an image file of your hard drive, I guess, and then you can restore it if something happens, I guess, and that's built into Windows 7 at least.
Well, yeah, but that was 7. When I heard about this was probably back in like before, this was probably back in Vista back when I heard about it. But also, also it's a matter of like that's what that's the thing that's designed to do, but that's a backup for your own personal use. Whenever you buy something, whenever you buy a video game, you can, or a song, they're like, you can maintain 1 copy for your own purposes, but if you want to get down to the nitty gritty of what the law says and what they say to do, so it's weird that there's like a level of the law that we've all kind of agreed that like this is what it says, nobody really cares. We signed this EULA to do the thing, but everybody does this or that, Like I was talking about Leo Laporte, he said somebody asked him like one guy's wife was like going through chemo or something, and he wanted to burn some take some DVDs and put them onto his iPod for her to watch while she was doing it, and like he's like, well, he's like, I'm going to tell you how to do it because I disagree with the law, but it's like technically this kind of stuff's gray or technically illegal. He's like, but I don't agree with the law because it's just stupid. It's like, if you own the movie, you should be able to watch it however you want. It's like, that's the point. I mean, that gets back to that whole legal issue of, like, do you really own your media, or are you just licensing to use it in this format? So, which we've had that conversation before, and
yeah.
So.
What was I going to say?
Well, let me just put this envelope to my head. I'm a mind reader.
Yeah.
I'm Johnny Carson.
No. Yeah, I mean, it's good to have backups, what I was going to say about the backup thing, though, is I don't know, though, like, if you make, like, a backup image disk or whatever, and you wanted to put that in another computer, I don't know how well it would work, because it just copies all the files and drivers of your whole system, so I'm not sure how well that would work for a computer with different hardware and stuff, Yeah,
versus, mine would just make a bootable disk out of it. So that's a nice thing to have. Is like, especially if you're like copying a hard drive that's dying, and then you just plug that in and can boot it from that. So.
Right.
Technology.
No, that's nice. Yeah. I was gonna explain. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I was just gonna go through like the definition of RAID a little bit. It says RAID, redundant array of independent disks. It's a data storage virtualization technology that combines multiple disk drive components into a logical unit for the purposes of data redundancy or performance improvement. So that's what RAID is. It's just you're able to combine disks into one disk, and have a larger hard drive, and it'll actually, like, if you look in your system, it'll, like, if you have a RAID of 4 1 terabyte hard drives, it'll recognize it as a 4 terabyte drive in your OS, but it's a lot of people just use it for redundancy, like so like if one hard drive dies, you could still it could still keep going.
Well, I mean, it's to keep going and also just to make sure that there's no loss, because that's the main thing. Is we all know hard drives fail. That's just a fact of life. So redundancy is basically your insurance of, okay, if this fails, it's not the biggest chink in the armor. It can keep on going and get repaired. So
right, and there's different levels of RAID, like RAID 0, RAID 1, 2. I think it goes up to 7, and I was sort of trying to look through and understand them for a second. I just didn't really have time. My friend Mike, he would probably be able to tell you more about what the different levels mean, but I don't know. I think RAID 0 or 1 are pretty decent, I guess. I don't know.
well, I mean, I'm sure it's all attributed to how often and what shared between them, how redundant things really are. I've heard it described before, but it was a long time ago. I don't even know if it was up to 7 at that time. Might have been 5, but it's I'm sure it's all relative to what you want to pay and how secure you want to be. Because I mean, you know how it is. Whenever you put money into any system and you think, okay, now I'm going to feel secure, and then you pay it, and you're like, well, now I could feel a lot more secure if I paid a little bit more. Okay, oh, well, I feel a little bit more secure if I pay. It's like, you'll never be satisfied with what you got. Nobody will be. It's just the way of life.
Right.
The circle of hard drives. Oh boy.
But yeah, another thing I wanted to talk about is it's some good maintenance of your hard drive it's usually a good idea to like defrag them. A nice program I like to use for Windows is called Defragler. I don't know, do you just use the built-in one for Mac?
I don't actually defrag my stuff that often. I know I've done it a little bit. I know there's also places that sell defragging things for Mac, but like every time you read it, it's just like the places that are selling antivirus software for Mac. They're like, no, look, seriously, you might want to actually try this. I think it was called like iDefrag or something. I'd have to look into it.
Well, I'm sure you could probably on the Mac you could probably set it up to automatically defrag it, like on a schedule or whatever, and you could do that with Windows too. But like in a lot of antiviruses will try to do that, like with disk optimizations and stuff. Like Norton, I think you can schedule it to defrag. But I don't know. I like to use Defragler every once in a while just to manually do it myself, and it's just good maintenance, With anything, maintenance is always nice, It's if you have a lot of fragmented files, I guess it'll that'll slow down your computer a little bit and your read-write speeds, I guess. Another thing I wanted to talk about, unless if Ben had anything else to say about defragging.
Well, I was right. It is called iDefrag. I got the link. I'm just my RAM's doing a quick clean right now, so everything's a little late on my. There we go. My computer. So I'll just drop that link in the one. Anyway, yeah, I'll just share that with Ian. You can keep talking, homeboy.
Okay. But yeah, Defragler is one I like to use. There's another one called Ace Utilities, which just generally does. It generally does like maintenance for your systems. Like you could do like clear your history and you can clear your temporary files, and it just has a lot of other cleanup tools, and it has a like a built-in disk defragmentation program in there.
I've used different cleanup tools on the Mac because there's plenty of different ones, being recommended, and every time there's a bundle on sale online, there's a different cleaning app. I use one that's pretty good. It like it goes system files, big large files. Like it deletes a lot of the unnecessary language files that you get or developer stuff. So yeah. I'll find the link for that. Go, you continue, good sir.
Okay. Well, I guess this next thing I wanted to talk about a little bit, which I'm sure Ben will want to add his 2 cents in about it. No, because he was doing that pseudo TV stuff. This one's just about, like how to access your information over other devices. It's this thing called DLNA. It's pretty complicated, but I guess it was started by a company that's called the Digital Living Network Alliance, DLNA. It's a nonprofit collaborative trade organization established by Sony in June 2003. DLNA uses Universal Plug-and-Play UPnP for media management, discovery, and control. UPnP defines the type of device that DLNA supports: server, renderer, controller, and the mechanisms for accessing media over a network. So usually it's good, like if you have like a NAS system or whatever, like the Drobos and stuff usually have DLNA built into them. So like if you wanted to use, like Xbox Media Center or the other media servers we talked about last week, it's a good idea that you make sure your device, like if you're doing it over the network, supports it. Unless if you're just doing it on a computer, then you could just do like a shared folder or whatever that you specify in your OS that's open to the network. And I have a couple shared folders here and there, but it's nice to access over the network. But if you have an external storage, like an external hard drive that you have plugged into your router, if it has a USB port, then usually you want to make sure that that your router supports that, I guess, with DLNA, with being able to stream those files over your Xbox or your PlayStation,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found 2 different cleaners that I have on my machine right now. I've got Mac Cleanse, which came with a bundle. I've used it like once. I don't know. I guess if you have a lightweight system, I think it might be okay. But the one I mainly use is Clean My Mac, because it's actually cleared off like 60-something gigabytes of stuff on mine, and it sets it to a timer, so it detects when you're going to delete like a huge file, like when a file's like over a gigabyte big, it says, "Oh, let us do it so we can find and remove all the components of this thing." And I mean,
right.
I was running out of hard drive space, and I found it, and I launched it. And I'm like, okay, it was set to auto launch every couple of weeks, and that was over a year ago. I'm like, how come it hasn't launched since then? So I don't know.
Yeah.
Computers are weird,
man. Yeah. But yeah, sorry, I decided to switch over to that other topic about the DLNA because you were gone for a little bit. It's sort of hard to talk about right, just some defragging for a couple minutes.
Yeah, let's do 15 minutes on defragging. I'm gonna soft shoot.
Jeez. Another thing that's nice, like if you're talking about cleanup, some cleanup programs it'll ask you if you want to compress some old files that you really don't use, like archives and stuff, which I guess it's a good idea if you want to save space, but I really don't do that. It just makes things harder, and I hate getting files from other people or over the internet where it's like compressed 3 times in the same RAR or zip file,
Yeah.
You have to
I don't know.
uncompress it.
I've mentioned before about
uncompress again.
Then
it has a password, and you find out.
Yeah, well, I mean, that can be an error sometimes where you go to unzip it and it unzips another archive, and then you unzip that and it's just a ever-going loop. But we've talked before about that app Hazel, where you can have it schedule maintenance, so it goes through your download folder for you, and if files have been there for like a month and you haven't done anything with them, move them to an archive folder, or just like delete stuff that's on your desktop periodically. Just set up rules for that kind of thing. So, yeah. That's Hazel.
Rules are good.
We've talked about it.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
Breaking the rules.
Was there any breaking the rules? You're so rebellious. You're such a rebel, man. Breaking the rules.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, was there anything that you wanted to add into about, like devices that it's nice to specify or make sure that they're even able to do like data sharing and streaming and stuff from the device,
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I remember back when Vista came out, and they're like, oh, you can buy a special cable to connect your Vista computer to your old XP computer and then share data. I'm like, really? Is that what you're supposed to do? That's like what you would do with a Game Boy, wasn't it? You have like 3 Game Boys and you want to play against each other. I don't know. I mean, it makes sense. The wired connections are usually the fastest. Whenever you have to share stuff over Wi-Fi, I guess it's better than, data on your phone when you're on Wi-Fi, but I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
By the way, I want to make a correction on myself. It does RAID only goes up to level 6.
I also want to make a correction. I want to make a correction of myself from last week's episode when I was really tired and I got confused and I thought the other Green Lantern was Steve Rogers. Like, that's Captain America. I got some sleep and I was like, what was I saying? The other one was Hal Jordan. I should know this. Because I know.
Well, I was thinking that, but I didn't want to correct you.
Well, I mean, there's Hal Jordan, and then there's also Jon Stewart, which is easy to remember because that's also the Daily Show host. In fact, they made a joke on that on Justice League. They were like, what, the Daily Show guy? Or no, wait, it was the Green Lantern cartoon where they were like, oh yeah, you got replaced by some guy, Jon Stewart. The TV guy? Oh, man.
Yeah. But is there? It's good to, in general, have maintenance on your hard drive and in general on your computer. That's what I try to tell my parents all the time. Because they're like, "Oh, my computer is so slow all the time."
Well, you've seen those commercials before where they're like, my computer is so slow, go to this website to make it go faster, and then half the computers are Macs, and you're like, it doesn't work that way, guys. Come on now.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And I try to tell them because they're always like, but I don't know where I put this in a hard drive like a week ago, I don't know how to access it, because a lot of times my dad they'll drag and drop things everywhere, and they don't necessarily they think their whole computer is just on their desktop.
Well, yeah. The average user, like when you have Google as your homepage, and it's like you try and tell them to go to Google, and they're like, "Well, I went to the homepage and it's not there. Bring it back. I'm scared." Yeah. I don't know. I've tried. When you see a person type in. When you tell them to go to a website and they go to Google and then they enter the URL into Google, I'm like, that you don't know how to use a computer. I'm sorry. I told you a guy came in to install an internet, an ISP over here, and he went to test the YouTube site and he kept going to Google and typing in www.youtube.com into the search, and I'm just sitting there the whole time going, how much are they paying him? How do you don't know what this is? This is the magical box for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm on a Mac. I shouldn't be the guy going, hey, what are you doing? I should be the guy that people make fun of, and I'm like, look, you don't understand, man. You don't. All right.
Well, it's just like I try to tell my dad, you're depending on his hard drive because they do like a lot of stuff for work, and like my stepmom would do like resumes and stuff on there, and it's like you guys depend on this thing so much. The whole family does. It's like I try to tell my dad, you're the head of the household here. You should sort of try to, since you depend on it so much, you should sort of try to figure out on your spare time whenever you can. Just try to figure out your computer and know inside and out. Just explore the computer world a little bit more.
Yeah,
but it just for people they're not that interested in it. Usually that's why they don't explore it more, get to know it more, because they just straight up don't have an interest in it as much as other things in life.
Well, there's that, and it depends. Like, if you're using a thing that saves files wherever it wants, and you don't, like, you can, most things you can save this to the desktop. But there have been times I've had to go to the little search thing and go, search my computer for this file because I don't know where this program thought it would be funny to put it. And it's like sometimes they put it in the documents folder with that thing, and then other times they put it inside the user thing on my thing. It's like, I know how to get to that. Apple hid that to where you have to press a certain key for that to show up. Because they know that most people would end up breaking their install if they went around and did that. So I don't know, man.
Or it's like my stepmom. It's like I show her a couple pictures I took with my camera of like her pets because they have like a bunch of dogs. They have like 3 dogs now because I just got like a puppy.
Oh, puppy.
Yeah. And so I took pictures of all of them, and then I was showing her a couple of them, and then the one I remember on like my built-in image browser on Windows, I would do it, and I would show her the picture, and then I'd zoom in a little bit. And she's like, "Yeah, crop it like that. Can you print that out right now with the zoom?" And it's just zoomed in. I don't even have it in Photoshop or nothing.
Yeah, I've had that fun. Like I was trying to help somebody who wanted to run an internet radio station, and they wanted to record like DJ stuff, and they would say, like, they had a bunch of the DJs come in and say, "Hi, I'm so and so," and I'd be recording it over the Skype call, and he's like, "Okay, can you play that back for us?" I'm like, "No, man, this is all going to a file. This ain't some live stream for you to listen to." Like,
yeah.
I'm like, what do you expect me to have? I've just got a program recording out of the mic input here. I don't know. Zoom, enhance. Zoom.
Yeah. Zoom, enhance. Dude, this is just a 1 megapixel image. I don't care. Zoom, enhance.
Does anybody know how to use Photoshop?
Oh, man. I could just go on all day about the ignorance of people, like trying to show my grandpa some pictures. He's like, do you still have a copy of that? Because I do like business cards and stuff for my grandpa. He pays me for that once in a while. He'd be like, can you reprint me out a couple of copies of that or whatever? And it's like I don't know. He's like, do you got it in there somewhere on a computer in there? It's just the way that he says it, I guess. I don't know.
I just love whenever people would say, "Oh, can you email me that file? I'll give it right back." I'm like, that's not how files work, man. I'm sending you a copy, not the source. And whenever I see a TV show, they're like, "We're sending this thing to this guy." It's like, well, we don't know if we'll ever get back. It's like, that's not how things, like on Star Trek when they would send the Doctor's program back to Earth. I'm like, you're sending him a copy. You're not like uploading and erasing your copy for it. Why? That'd be stupid.
Yeah.
That's not how.
Well,
it's just like all those crime shows where they're like the cyber, terrorists, and they're chasing them inside the cyber zone, and like it's all represented by like Second Life, and it's like that's not how it looks. That's not how you trace somebody's IP. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I think it is I noticed with a lot of people is that, especially that grew up without like back in the 60s or 70s or even like before that, is they think that the final, whatever you see on screen, they think that's like the final output of whatever you have on screen. So like if you're zoomed in on something, they think that it's already cropped and everything, and it's like it's just like paper now, you know.
Well, people don't understand how some things are. Like, I mean, my brother will text me, and I'll tell my mom I'm texting him back, and she'll say, "Oh, what'd he say?" I'm just texting him back now. I don't have his like. It's not a conversation. It's not like, "Oh yeah, Mom wants to know what you're doing." I'd have to individually type that out, wait for a response. You know, it's not. You know, he's not here. He's not going to answer you. So.
Yeah. Well, what I think it is like, my grandpa will print something out from him, and he'll be like, "Oh, this turned out really good. Do you still have a copy of that? Can you make another copy of it?" It's like, well, of course, it's on the computer, you know.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
I don't know.
I think so. Is that it for this week? And can we move on to trivia so I can reclaim my championship yet again? Defend my title.
Yep. Hold on.
Yeah, trivia with Ian. Trivia with Ian. That's cha.
It is trivia time.
Okay, so, well, did you want to do an episode about technology then, since we're talking so much about a trivia about technology then?
Bring it on, brother.
Okay. We should be relaxing. And
I'll see you in the ring. I am relaxed. This is how I sip tea and enjoy my weekends. I'm hulking out.
Weed, brother. Calm down. You need some sweet weed, brother.
I shouldn't have that
That's what you
sushi.
Hey. Okay, let's see. You said Google changed everything. I hope not the screen share, so hopefully that still works.
Don't say it out loud. You'll jinx it.
Hey, it looks like it works.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, starting off, trivia this week. Technology. Microsoft is a corporation that today is very successful. During its early years, Microsoft competed with other companies that were already well known to create the best GUI for home use. What is the name of the series of operating systems created by Microsoft? Linux, OS X, Micro OS, Windows. And did you want to go first,
let you
Ian?
go first. Well, it'd be nice, so I guess it really doesn't matter, does it? I'll just have gone first then. We're both just gonna say Windows, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if we were wrong? It's like, oh, we got a mulligan. All this time we were confused. Turns out.
I'd have to look that up on the wiki, definitely, for sure. If that was wrong, I'd be like, what? You guys are high on something.
I love talking to people about, like, OS 10, and, like, for one, they argue about the pronunciation of it. It's like, no, there is a proper way to say it. I don't like saying it as OS 10 either, but whatever. You know, and then they're like, oh, it's based on Linux. Actually, it's similar to Linux, but it's actually based on Unix, but whatever. So, your computer has a toasted chipset. What can you do? A, nothing. It will not compute. B, spray can dust off air into the cooling fan inlet. C, get the dip. Here's a free snack. And D, wrap firmly but gently on the computer case with your knuckles. Um,
Okay.
that's cute. I'm gonna say nothing. It will not compute because if it's toasted, that means they're fried and broken, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I assume that's what toasted chipsets mean. Because otherwise, like, I mean, you can, I mean, well, unless they're saying like overheated, then it would be spray can dusted off air into the cooling fan inlet. But if they're I'm gonna say toasted means that they're dead. But if they're trying to say overheated, then it would be B.
Right. Well, the thing is they say chipset, but usually the chipset for like PC-based motherboards, it's like usually that refers to like the Northbridge chipset or whatever. It's separate than the CPU, or the video card. It's something else that I
Well,
think it
has
helps
anybody ever said your
different
chipset
operations
has
and
been
stuff.
toasted? This is just trying
No,
to be
I've
cute.
never heard of it.
So,
I'll just go with A too. Okay. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's whatever. Alright. What in or on your computer would you want to be rendered? An MP3 music file. The guy who outbid you on eBay with 3 seconds to go. The FAT32 file system. The image on the display. I believe this is yours to go first.
Okay, I'll just go with D then.
Well, yeah, because that's the only real answer. I mean, I don't know, man. I hope all of these trivia questions aren't like, tech for non-tech people. Don't you just love when like, there's like condescending, like, oh, these are tech questions for non-tech people. Just like, oh, these are, these are comic book movies for people that don't like comic book movies, or a horror movie for people who don't like horror movies. It's like, shut up. Don't be insulting to me. Okay.
Here's another brain
And-
buster.
Which of these industries use computers on a daily basis? The restaurant industry. All of these. The retail industry. The medical industry. I like how all of these follows the first one. Like, they didn't have the opportunity to let you go, no, they're not going to read all of them, so let them know that there is an all of the above answer. But yeah.
Hey, hold on
B.
for a sec, sir. Entertain.
Oh no. Ian's getting a call. So, hey everybody. I really hope my audio is being recorded on this episode, because otherwise that would be, this whole time is nothing but Ian talking to himself. And, if you've gotten this far on the episode, the magic word is pancakes. Pancakes. Good old pancakes. Not waffles. Waffles are delicious, don't get me wrong. But pancakes. The International
Okay,
House of... welcome back.
For a couple of minutes, actually, I'm gonna have to be out here. You're gonna have to entertain for a couple minutes here for a sec. I'd like to finish up this trivia.
Okay.
Just I'm trying to think what you could talk about. Just actually, if you want to give them more links about stuff, I guess
Don't just go ahead and enjoy your call, Ian. I'll keep the folks at home entertained.
Thank you, sir. Bop 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 bop.
Oh boy. Alright everybody, so I'm just gonna sit and tell you about Ian now. His home address is so yeah, professional show here, I know. So how's everybody doing this lovely Monday? It's a Monday, and I think most people on Mondays they're like, oh man, worst day of the week. I gotta get back to the grind. I kind of look forward to them, because I'm working weekends here. It's got people are in and out a lot, and it's weekends are kind of whatever. But during the weekday, I can kind of get on the groove, and I try and start every week as a fresh thing. So I kind of enjoy getting up on Monday mornings. Problem is, lately though, it's been kind of cold, and when like it's been really hot or really like cold and rainy. So when it's those extremes, you have a habit of sleeping through it in the morning. I set my alarm for 5, and it goes off, and half the time anymore it goes off, and I'm laying there going, do I really have to get up? You think about this. And then another half of the time I'm sitting there, go off, and I can hear it in my dream, but I'm not really awake enough. Was it Daniel Tosh who said he had he couldn't take morning classes because he would have his mind would be inhabited by a janitor he would call Sleepy Dave, and like, oh, Sleepy Dave, you rascal. It's like, okay, I gotta get up. My alarms are going off. I gotta get up at like 8 in the morning. It's like, oh, why go to class where you can ski down a mountain slope made of syrup? It's like, you're right, Sleepy Dave. And that's the kind of way it is. That's the way it especially is if you go to sleep without preparing for it. If you just say, I'm going to bed, and then like you go to bed and then you wake up halfway through the night and then you wake up again. You don't have a real full sleep. So I try to actually have a decent sleep. I try to not be doing stuff, not taking caffeine, not staying up late. I maybe listen to one podcast when I go to sleep, and I try to listen to the whole thing. Half the time though, I'll listen to it, I'll fall asleep, I'll wake up in half of it, and so like I was saying, and that's how my mother died. Wait, what? What? Oh, that's a shame. I don't know. I tried listening to Stephen King's audiobook for On Writing, a Memoir of the Craft, and I fell asleep to it, and I woke up to the part where he was talking about it getting hit by a van and all the trauma that caused in his life, and I was just like, wow, this is a thing to wake up to, guys. So yeah, definitely Stephen King waking up. Boy, Ian just, walking out on the show. I really hope you guys can hear me, otherwise you're just watching these inputs bouncing up and down to my voice. This reminds you of the old days when I would just do a show by myself and act like I'm talking to myself like this. It's very nice, don't get me wrong, I enjoy having a co-host. It keeps the show going. But, there's I've got that, the little mini podcasts that I do. Like, I've been doing one when I've been watching the Ghostbusters DVD set. I've been doing one every time I get through a collection of them, which is like 5 discs per set, and there's like 5 sets. So it's like, that's a lot of Ghostbusters. Even for people that like Ghostbusters like myself, when I'm going through it all, I'm like, this is a great show. This is a lot of episodes. So, it's a fun show. A lot of show to go through, though. So, it's a marathon. It's you're running that 26 miles or whatever it is. It's like you're not gonna try and just like sprint it. No, you gotta just keep the stride going. Yeah, man, that's great. But after you've watched like 5 discs of Egon and the guys, it's like, okay, I need to go away for a little while and take a day off. And it's like, okay, now I'll just watch 1 disc today, and then I'll watch 1 tomorrow. So. But yeah, I've been doing those little audio boos using audioboo.com. I've been doing those. Sometimes I'll do them about episodes I'm watching. I did the same thing when I watched Voyager. I was sitting there talking about the Star Trek. Going, I don't know, this episode, like, I've seen Voyager, like, through 3 times, when it originally aired, once by myself, and then my mom and I watched it together, so it's like, there's a lot to say about that show, and it's like, I had a list of episodes that stood out as like, why did they put this in here? Because there are some really good episodes on that show, and there's some really weird episodes, and then there's episodes where it's, why does this exist? I don't know. So, yeah, I've got audio boos, which are just little me podcasts, because I like the format that we've got going with Ian, where he and I, we've got a thing, we've got a format, we've got topics we usually talk about. Right now, he's busy on the phone, or talking to some electronics dealer, or with family of some kind, I assume. So, which is fine, Co-hosts have stuff going on too. Hopefully, I'd like us to get another guest on the show. We'll be working on that. Hopefully, Doug will get to join us again sometime soon, maybe next week. We'll see how that goes. I don't want to make any promises because, people get busy. People have lives, folks. I mean, you think, oh, it'd be so easy. Like, why is it so hard to get people on a podcast? Then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, let me invite somebody. Oh, I gotta clear my schedule. I got something to do. Oh, I can't go that day. Or oh, I was just gonna be on the show and then my headset broke. Or or like, okay, so I'm gonna be on your show. What phone number do I have to call? It's like, no, dude, just get on the Hangout. So, yeah. Mondays. How's the weather been going out there for you guys? It's been kind of rainy here lately, which is, I like when it's rainy and gray. It's nice and gloomy. I like it. It's nice and relaxing. But then the sun will poke out, and all of a sudden it'll be really sunny, and then it'll go back to gloomy again, and rainy, and then the sun will come back out. Like, make up your mind, man. Like, I mean, if you like one or the other, I'm sure people love sunshine, and me personally, I like nice, relaxing, gray days. I don't really care for overly rainy days, because then worry about lightning and everything getting wet and dreary and all the humidity and everything. But if it's just like, a little overcast or whatever, that's nice. It's nothing bad. It's nice, peaceful, relaxing. So, yeah, rain. It's nice. It's about been in the 60s today, which is nice. I was listening to a podcast the other day. A guy from Austin, Texas. He went up to Ohio to visit his family, and he's like, "Oh man, it's so nice," because Texas is like just I'm sure nice people, beautiful country, but man, it's hot. But it's a dry heat, so I think that's a little bit better than when it gets hot here. Hey,
okay,
how's it
I'm
going?
back.
Welcome back.
Actually, that was my dad. He came by. He got me. He dropped off some dinner for me and stuff.
Okay. Here's some dinner, Ian. Now, would you tell me how to find the file? I lost it.
No, he was actually telling me that some good news about the Christmas. I guess they're planning on doing they're gonna go on vacation during Christmas time, maybe to somewhere warm, I guess. So.
Man, it can't be Christmas if there ain't no snow. Oh man.
Yeah, sure you can. You get one of those silver or gold aluminum trees.
Silver and gold. Silver and gold.
Or you get one of those trees that are my parents are lazy, so they got one of those trees that have the lights already on them and stuff. They're built in.
Yeah, well, the last couple of Christmases, my mom hasn't even put our tree up, and it's like, I'm like, aren't you like the super, church-going lady who really, wants to celebrate stuff, and you don't put it? Like, I know it's terrible of me. I'm like, well, yeah, but whatever. I haven't put it up either because it's not big. It's like I need to get the cat at Target to jump on now, and yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, which of these industries uses computers on a daily basis, Ian?
What?
I believe.
Was I going first this time?
You went first on the last one, so I think it's this one. I believe the answer was B, all of these.
Yeah, because it's like every industry uses a computer on a daily basis.
What about the Amish industry? Huh? Huh?
Well, you got me
the
there.
non-industry. Well, you got me. I'm sure there are people that manage their affairs that use computers, just not them. So.
Hey, their furniture has to go through some kind of warehouse and stuff, Well,
what was that one group of people that they don't believe in reproducing, so the only way the organization can still survive is to recruit new members, and it still exists. They make really good furniture, I think. That's what I've heard. I don't know.
Also, I like that you go up to like Giant Eagle or whatever, and you get that Amish macaroni salad. That's always pretty good.
I wouldn't know. All right, so all
you don't
of these
like macaroni
then?
salad?
Not
yeah,
really.
I'm gonna go with. I'll just say all of these.
Which one of these industries? The computer industry. Ironically, they don't. Or maybe yeah. Wouldn't it be great if It's always great when you find like a website for a WordPress theme that isn't using the theme. It's like, you guys don't believe in your own product, do you? Steve Jobs founded Microsoft. True or false? Okay, Ian, is this trivia tech trivia for nobodies? I mean, seriously.
I'm sorry.
These are all ironic questions. I'm going to say false. I should just buck the system and say true, just to be the one guy to fail this trivia.
I'm sorry.
You got to check it first, though, don't you?
No, I just had to check her scores, and we did 4, so we. Yeah, it's false. Let's go with false.
Wouldn't it be great if it was true and we were like, well, now we got to go to Wiki. Well, what do you know? The people that made this trivia changed it. All right. This company is based in Massachusetts. They were the first to fully utilize the RAID concept in large storage devices. RAID stands for Redundant Array of Inexpensive Disks. For as opposed to a single or limited amount of large platters, this technology allows for better data protection as well as faster data read-write times. They now are a major player in the computer storage industry, besting even IBM. Which company is this? LSI Logic, Dell, EMC, Hewlett-Packard.
Okay, so we just suddenly get one of these.
We go from who ran this company, this guy, or the guy from Leonard Skinner. Okay. Based in Massachusetts. Fully utilized the RAID. Well, didn't you say that was LSI Logic?
I think so. I forget.
You forget. He forgot in his own podcast where he prepared the notes before the show was over. This is why we prepare these notes, actually. This is why we prepare these notes, guys, because it's like I want to save these things so whenever I point someone else to an episode and go, yeah, there's that one site I've just got links for. Just follow the link to the show. Like that's why I got my most visited thing on my website right now has been the webcomic scripts page, where people just come and find how to get a hold of a copy of Comic Press or how to use WordPress with it, whatever. It's like because I kept posting on the forums. Go ahead.
Well, actually, I said that I talked about the company that was founded by that DLNA company that was nonprofit. I don't think I read off about the RAID being founded by anybody. So
in that case, then who went first the last time?
That was you. You just said false on the jobs then.
Okay. Okay, so which one are you gonna go with? You? Which one?
I guess I'll just go with the LSI Logic. I guess. I mean, I'll just go with Dell because they're, especially right now, Dell is more of like the behind the scenes. Like they do a lot more server-based stuff nowadays.
Well, yeah, but
HP is like more mainstream.
Well, when I see that, it's like, well, when it's the first to use something, it's like, well, that's got to be an old company. And besting IBM, it's like, well, that's got to be Hewlett-Packard because Dell never bested them, did they? So
I don't know.
I'll go with D. Well, so we're going to differentiate on which one of us wins this one. So,
okay, you're going to go with D. I'll go with B. Which is
all right.
EMC.
It was none of the above. Oh, can you believe this? What kind of nonsense is this? Who is the grandfather of computing? Anyway.
Bullshit.
Which man is credited with coining the term artificial intelligence in 1955 and is considered one of the early pioneers in the field? Perhaps he was a relative of Tail Gunner Joe. John McCarthy, L. Ron Hubbard, Isaac Asimov, or Alan Turing? Okay, I'm going first. I'm going to go with Isaac Asimov?
Okay. I'll just go with John McCarthy because that was like my first guess.
Okay.
You're gonna go with C. I'll go with A.
What?
Oh yeah, John McCarthy.
Boo! Boo!
Oh yeah, brother.
Yeah, go snap into your Slim Jim. Anyway. What is all that unwanted, unsolicited junk mail in your email inbox called? 4-letter word again. Does the name Hormel mean anything to you?
And I hate those kind of sandwiches too. Those are gross, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying Spamberger. That's my answer. Spamberger.
Spam. You know, when you say Hormel, I always think chili, because that's what they advertise it for. Because spam is just spam. It doesn't care what it is. Did you ever see that Conan O'Brien bit, the spam that hates spam? It's like, I hate spam. Oh, you hate internet spam. I thought you hated spam. And he pulled out a gun and shot the other guy. I hate all spam. The CPU controls all of a computer's functions. It acts as the brain of the computer. What does CPU stand for? Control Point Unit, Central Port Unit, Computer Performance Utility, Central Processing Unit. That would be D.
Double D.
Piranha, double D.
Yeah. Double D's. Yeah.
I like how this trivia has mostly been, hey kids, you like computers? How do you spell that? And then we get one, this software company. Alright. This software company, based in Silicon Valley, is primarily known for its publishing package named Acrobat. Acrobat is used extensively by many different organizations to create and distribute documents. You can always identify an Acrobat document by its file extension of PDF, which stands for Portable Document Format, and is now an international standard. What is this company's name? Adobe Systems, Microsoft, Oracle Systems, Hewlett-Packard. Why did they have me read off the history of the PDF? Why? I love. It's like this is like DOI trivia, but extensive reading. And it's your answer first, Ian. You're
That would
sitting
be
there. Which,
A, right?
yes. I mean, you've
A.
used Adobe Acrobat, haven't you? So. I saw a video on Vimeo today that was the story of Adobe Illustrator, where the guy was talking about, like, there was nothing like it at the time, and you had to be a programmer to code this stuff, and it's like, then we built this program, and then you could just use these little splines, and it was like, whoa. People are like, you're cheaping illustration because now anybody can do it. It's like, well, that's kind of the point. Oh. Which of the following is the lowest level of computer language? Assembler, Fortran, Pascal, machine language. It's my turn to go first. Machine language.
Yeah. Machine language. Ghost in the Machine.
Beep, boop, boop, beep.
Yeah. So I'm going with D too then. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Assembly
Machine
is pretty.
language.
That's pretty
Well,
primitive though, too, isn't it?
Well, an assembler isn't a language. It's what you use to compile a language. So I don't know. I mean, did you see? Remember in Pirates of Silicon Valley? He's like, we forgot to write an assembler. I hope he's gonna go in there and won't turn on. He's like, I hope. Did he write one on the plane? Like, he wrote an assembler on the plane. I don't. All right. One of these many tiny dots of colored light that make up a digitized image is it pixel, opticon, reticle, diphthong, or why are you putting these questions on the trivia, Ian? I mean, seriously.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man.
Why don't we have who can sing Itsy Bitsy Spider the best next time? I mean, I like the expression that the question's doing. It's like, and it's like depressed face, poking out eye. All right.
Actually, this next question looks like it's going to be different. So, it's a pixel. That's what.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I'm going with. That's what you're going with too, right?
Well, yeah, because I want to be right.
Want to be right? How dare you? Okay, this next one looks different.
Which Hanover, New Hampshire Ivy League University held the first artificial intelligence conference in 1956? Stanford, Yale, Harvard, Dartmouth. Hanover, New York, Ivy League. I mean, Hanover, New Hampshire. 1957, 1956. I'm just saying all kinds of wrong things, aren't I? My mind is just creating stuff outside of this trivia. The thing is, I don't know where any of these universities are, so I'm going to say Dartmouth. No, Stanford. Yeah. How about you, Ian?
Yeah, well, Stanford is a good generic one to go with, you know. Besides, like, the Harvard and Yale is like.
It's a trick question. It was a diphthong.
Ones, aren't they? I'll just go with Harvard so we have a difference here.
Okay. I should have stuck to my guns. Why?
Yep.
Why?
We've both been burned by that.
Oh.
You gotta learn.
No computer has been built which does not use transistors or integrated circuits. True or false?
That's me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say false. That was false because they used to use hole punches and stuff, didn't they?
Hole punches?
Yeah, like hole punch. That's like the back in the 40s or whatever. I don't know.
You mean the cards that they would read in to the computer?
Yeah.
That's not how you built the computer. I mean,
well, actually, didn't they have something on like this History Channel where there was like ancient forms of like a calculator or whatever?
well, there have been mechanical computers. In fact, there was the I saw a thing not too long ago. The Alcatherian. I can't remember the name of it. There was this box of gears that they found that they managed to use it to recreate what they think the device was, where it could calculate the constellation changes and the seasons and a bunch of other stuff down to with finely tuned gears. I don't know. So,
right. Well, it didn't specify if it's mechanical or not.
I'm going to say false because when they say no has been built that did not use these, it's like, well, who knows? That's a pretty powerful statement. So I'm going to say false.
Okay. It was false.
Oh yeah, that's right, brother.
At 11, I'm at 12.
This large multinational technology company based in Palo Alto, California was started in a one-car garage. It is often referred to by the initials of the founders' last names. Although it is one of the world's largest personal computer distributors, many people often think of printers when first hearing their name. Which company is this? Epson, Sun Microsystems, Apple, Hewlett-Packard.
This is you.
Often referred to by the initials of the founders' last names. Known for printers. Well, Epson's the only one there that I can think of when I think of printers.
Okay, I'm gonna go with HP.
When I think of HP,
I have an HP printer.
I think HP, didn't they originally make calculators back in the day? Like, I think that's what Steve Wozniak was originally was working at Hewlett-Packard or something, making calculators. I don't know. Alright.
Well, you can stick to Epson if you want.
I'm
It's up
sticking
to
to
you.
Epson.
Okay, I'll go with. You're going with A. I'm going with D. Okay.
I hate you, Wayne.
HP.
You pick the baby questions, and then it's like, who invented the sonic thing? Whatever.
HP.
Alright. Which U.S. government department was a major early funder of artificial intelligence research for its own ulterior motives? National Air and Space Administration, Department of Defense, Department of the Interior, Department of Commerce. I'm going to say Department of Defense, because why would the National Air and Space Administration want to build a artificial intelligent thing for its own purposes? Well,
Yeah.
it would. Well, they use that in things for unmanned drones and for stuff, but everything uses some form of AI anymore.
Well, this was me that was supposed to go first, but yeah, I was gonna go with Department of Defense anyways.
Well, whenever you say for their own motives, it's like for their own sinister deeds. So
Yeah. Are you going with that then? Just to make sure.
I'm going with defense. Yeah.
The Department of Defense.
Defense.
Oh, here's a long one for you. Here's another history, probably.
Why do I have to read all this stuff? And then the question comes down to, was it some other guy or no? This California-based large multinational technology company was incorporated in 1977 by founders Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Its original focus was on personal computers, and though it has developed a loyal and extensive fan base, computers are no longer its primary focus. Although its logo is now recognized worldwide, many folks associate the company more with music and communication devices than with computers. Which company is this? Dell, Hewlett-Packard, Apple, Microsoft. You all right there, Ian?
Yeah, this is just so funny.
Seriously, questions like what? How this is like what? The third question where we have like, what's the name of the company that Steve Jobs started? Can you really ask the same question like 5 times? It was Apple. I mean, just are you speaking
Apple.
English?
Apple.
Are we speaking English or are we speaking something else? No, we're speaking Americano. I just.
Okay, so your official answer, Ben, is
Apple.
okay. So you're
I
going
feel
with
bad
Apple.
that-
We just want
I
to
feel-
make sure.
I feel bad that this is the trivia that you might actually beat me on.
Apple. That's what I'm going to do. Ahead by 2. Okay.
Based in San Jose, California, this large multinational technology company focuses primarily on producing network equipment. Famed for its routers and switches, the company also has had key communications SW applications such as WebEx, Which company is this? Network appliance, Cisco, Hewlett Packard. Oh boy. I'm gonna go with B, Cisco. Da-dong, da-dong, dong, dong.
I was gonna go with that too. You said Apple first, by the way, on the last one. So.
Well, when
Yeah,
I'm reading the whole question, I forget who goes first, so I'm just gonna go first all the
That's
time
fine.
now.
Not Cisco. Well, yeah,
Dong, da, dong, dong, dong.
I'm pretty sure it's Cisco. I mean, we'll see. Roll crazy. Yeah, it was Cisco. Yeah, I wish you had 15. Okay, 14 and 16. Okay.
The term GUI stands for Graphing Ultimate Interface, Graphical User Interface, Graphics User Used Input, Gorgeous Unidentified Idiot. Maybe I should just step away from the microphone and let you fill in for a while next time. Even my cat's insulted by this trivia. She's like, "What is this crap? Where did you get this? I want to find the people that wrote this and hit them with my claws." Ew. So you're going with B, Graphical User Interface.
Yes. I thought that was a consensus by now.
Well, maybe I want to get a higher point than you, huh? If you and I keep answering the same thing, how am I supposed to come up from behind and nip at you?
Graphical user interface. That's what I'm going with, sir.
I'm also going with graphical user interface because that's what it means.
Are you sure? You positive?
Would you like to phone a friend? Hi, Steve. What does GUI stand for? Huh? What was the trembling name of the first general-purpose mobile robot that employed AI and was developed by the Artificial Intelligence Center of Stanford Research Institute in the late 1960s? Shaky the Robot, Nervous Nelly, Winamit, Puma.
Back to one that's like impossible.
It's either Shaky or Nervous Nelly, because that question was like, what was the trembling? I want to go with B, Nervous Nelly. Unless pumas have a habit of shaking I don't know about. Wouldn't that be great, Ian?
I'll just go with Unimate.
Okay.
So you're going with Shaky?
No, I'm going with Nervous Nelly.
Oh, okay, Nervous Nelly.
Because why would you call it Shaky unless you're like, we have no faith in this machine at all? Watch that be the answer. I'm going to be very angry.
Ah, it was
I am
Shaky.
very angry. I am very angry, Ian. That's the worst name for a robot. Why would you name it Shaky?
Well, you're about to be more angry because that's the end of the game.
No, I'm not more angry
That's
because
20 seconds.
I'm not going to be angry. More angry. I'm just angry that you had me take this trivia and that it was horrible. And you're just horrible, Ian. I mean, it's really not much more I can say. Yes, just thank Steve Jobs because there are like 4 questions about him. And after that many repeats of the same question, I just went insane. And, yeah.
You're just jealous of my awesomeness, man.
So anyway.
was nice to win one for a while.
Yeah, enjoy it while it lasts, Ian. Enjoy it while it lasts. Because I'm coming for you, brother. Oh, yeah. We'll finish this in the ring.
I'm gonna step off a Slim Jim in your...
Just, not really the ring, because, I don't want to wear a Speedo or get all oily and sweaty and rub up against you. That sounds uncomfortable. Just unpleasant. So anyway...
I think the spirit of Macho Man was within me. That's how I beat you.
Oh. So you're just sitting there snapping Slim Jims, and after a while, it's okay.
Or was it Macho Man that died, or who was it that wrestler that died?
That wrestler, like there was only one. There are a number of deceased wrestlers now, Ian.
The most recent one.
Well, it was not Macho Man, it was the most recent one, no, but I think,
wasn't it Randy Savage or something?
No, that was Macho Man, Randy Savage. You're probably thinking of Roddy Piper, I think, was one of the more recent ones.
I don't know. One of them helped me today. I could feel their presence.
One of them treated you like that scene in Ghost where you're making the pot, so... Okay.
Their paranormal spirit was stored into the walls.
Paranormal spirit, as opposed to their totally normal, everyday spirit.
Yeah. They were encoded into the walls.
I think that about wraps this episode up, wouldn't you say, Ian?
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting episode. I think
somebody needs to find us some new trivia. Of quality.
Well, the technology one, it was the best I could find because it's hard to find ones that aren't just like mainstream, Then again, we are nerds. I mean,
nerds. I turned into Ogre from Revenge of the Nerds. Great. All right. Well. I think it was a good show this week, so it's about time to say goodbye to everybody, all you boys and girls out there. So, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you all on the other side. Peace! find out more, visit NoRightsProductions.com. Follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/NoRights. And hey, why don't you check out my Tumblr at NoRights.tumblr.com.